Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you get paid as soon as you show up to the building. Sometimes you have to wait until the money guy goes and drops off chairs. Sometimes you know exactly why you are doing something. Sometimes you even question yourself and your motives. And sometimes your car gets backed into even when it's parked. Now, I posted that on Facebook late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And that was how I was feeling about last weekend. That was after about a 2.5, almost a 3.5 hour car ride because we had some traffic going back. But man, it took me a lot to calm down. I try to keep it together, but I figured I would take this time to share my little story of my last weekend and kind of, some of the events that led up to it and the actual event and some of the things that I saw. Because at this point, I don't really care. I just want to get it off my chest. And then I'll talk about what's going on this weekend, which I'm thinking is going to be way better for me. I already feel like it's going to be a better weekend. But anyway, so as I mentioned in my last video, I went to TWF, or I was scheduled to be going to TWF in Seguin, Texas at the Seguin Activity Center. So that Saturday morning I decided to go to the gym, and I thought everything was going to be fine. And I was doing like my upper body circuit. And I was doing incline dumbbell press, and I had about 70 pounds in each hand. And I had finished my set. I'm early into my workout. And I thought, well, instead of dropping the weights, I'll set them on my knees, and then I'll stand up and I'll re-rack the weights because I was going to go to a heavier weight. Well, when I did that, I felt this sudden sharp pain in my lower back, right around my sciatic nerve, and oh man, it just flared up. Like, I've had it a couple of times happen like this, and it's so painful. But I'm a trooper, and I was like, you know what, I got to get through my workout, I got to get this. You know what, when I get home, I'll stretch, and I'll really focus on stretching, and I'll take a hot shower, and that with, and I'll get a heating pad, and I'll do all kinds of things, and I'll be fine. I'll be good for the show. I didn't want to cancel because I had a scheduling conflict the month before, and in December I had faced the champ in a non-title match, champ being Wallace Gordon. I had faced him, and I figured, well, maybe we'll carry on. No one really knew what I was doing at the show. I had been told I could be facing Killer Cash, who was riding to the show with me. I could be facing the name that entertains, Jasper Davis. There was potential that I'd face Ken Carson. There was potential I'd face Wallace Gordon. So, again, everything was up in the air, and I didn't really want to cancel, especially the day of. I just, I figured I'd stretch. And so that's what I did. I tried stretching. I found it very difficult to stretch, a lot more difficult than usual. My lower back, my stabilizer muscles were really tight, so I was, just having a tough time with it. I took a hot shower, really didn't feel any better. And then I got the text from the booker and asking if I was for sure coming, and if I was bringing Killer Cash with me. And at that point, Killer Cash was there, and he was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, man, we're going. I don't want to cancel. So I said, yeah, we'll be there. And I figured, well, maybe the car ride, when I get there, I'll stretch even more. I'll have somebody help me maybe, and I'll work it out. I even tried using a heating pad on my lower back, thinking that would relieve me. But I found, like, even after about 10 minutes of having that, I stood up, and man, I was in worse shape. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to drag my bag and this, that, and the other. Luckily, everything was packed. Getting in the car was quite the adventure. I looked like I was a 95-year-old man, probably. So I just was like, all right, man, whatever. Driving and then getting out of the car I labored after it. But I was like, no, we'll get there and I'll be fine. So when we arrived to Seguin, and it's about a 2.5 hour drive from where I live, we stopped at Shrimp Barn. Shrimp Barn's the place, probably the main reason I go to to Seguin, and one of the main reasons that I would do the show, because we would get comped. And not just because you would get comped. I mean, free food always tastes better probably than food that you have to pay for, but I would pay for the food. Simply because I like the food, and the service is good, and people are really nice, and they're big wrestling fans, and whatnot. And the food's always delivers, and I always get a little bit more so I can have something for after the show. But I noticed the poster, and I had noticed the poster flyer at the December show, and I didn't really make mention of it, but I really want to make mention of it now. Over the course of the last few shows, TWF, the guy who promotes, decides to put like a WWE guy on it. December, it was John Cena. Except in very fine print, there was not the actual person, but you can raffle to get the stand-up. And then I heard, like, in January, there was Undertaker, kind of the same deal, little wording. And I'm not one to, promoters and people who make flyers, they can do whatever they want. If they want to put, an all-star lineup of guys who aren't going to even be on the show, or gals who aren't even going to be on the show, more power to them. But I don't know, this one at least, it had in like big bold lettering, kind of in a box, like not the actual person, because the actual person was going to be Triple H. And of course, I'm like, man, Triple H is gonna be there. Wow, man, maybe I'll get signed if I have a good enough match, depending on who it's gonna be. So I noticed that. I mean, we left there. Then we got to the building. It rained, so where we parked, which usually we parked in the back, was kind of, there was like a path of cars, and I decided, well, I'll park behind. The closest car, I'll park behind it, and then when people have to move, I'll move my car. No big deal. Didn't think anything of it. We made our way, and I'm still not feeling great. My back is still shot, but I'm a trooper, and I was like, if I face Killer Cash, we'll figure out a way to where I can do stuff and still. Because the bumping doesn't actually hurt. It was just like moving that hurt. But I figured once I got out there, the adrenaline would take over and I'd be okay. Because it really wasn't like I snapped something. It was more just I pulled, or something got irritated. My muscles and my sciatic nerve got irritated. So I got there and I found out I was going to be in a tag match. It was going to be me and Killer Cash against Jagus Pliskin and Ken Carson. And I like both guys. Ken and I have worked a couple of times, and I don't have any problem with him. I think he's a hell of a talent. He's a great up-and-comer. He's got a beautiful girlfriend in Barbie. He's been on Behind the Curtain numerous times. And I really enjoy watching Ken work. I think he's getting it. I think he's got a mind for it. And Jagus and I go way back. I've known Jagus for years, since he was Biohazard. And I've liked kind of his involvement and how he's evolved, and I don't mind his work. His work's, he's a snug guy, very snug guy. Works a really deliberate pace and has an aura about him, and I agree with a lot of what he says in his promos and whatnot. And I was looking forward to it because I was like, okay, it'll be me and Killer Cash, and it'll be those two, and we could tell a pretty good story, and But as soon as they both saw that I wasn't up to snuff, they were just like, we'll work around it. And I figured, well, you know what? Let me get some of my gear on, and it's funny because I'm trying to put on my gear while laying down. That seemed to be the only position that was comfortable. So I'm putting my socks laying down, putting my pads laying down, I'm putting my trunks laying down. I mean, I'm just trying, it just hurts. I'm like, man. And then I start, once I get everything on, and it takes a while, getting my boots laced, and I'm stepping, and I'm trying, and, the booker's coming to me, okay? And I'm like, no, I'll be fine, we'll keep it this way and that way. I started stretching, and I got to a point where, okay, if I warmed up enough, and I was doing I was walking, and, and trying to jog a little bit, trying to do anything to get the muscles going. We devised a plan, and we had a good opening thing with me and Ken, and Cash would take the brunt of everything, do the brunt of the work, which I appreciated, and I would come in for the hot tag, and it would get to the finish. And I felt okay during the initial stuff because the adrenaline was going and whatnot. But as the match progressed, my back just started acting up again. And I'm like, man. But we get through the finish. I mean, the match was what it was. I take full responsibility for not being physically able to do what I wanted to do, but I can't use the back as an excuse because, again, bumping doesn't hurt or hasn't hurt, and this wasn't a wrestling-related issue. It was more of a stupidity on my part for lifting the weights the way I lifted them and not having proper form. So, but the match went as it went, and I mean, Jacobs was happy with it, and Ken was happy with it, and everybody was cool with it. And I mean, they went over, and that was fine because I really didn't have a problem with it because they have an established group, and I'm kind of coming and going, and I really wasn't sure when I was going to be able to come back to them, simply because other shows are going to start picking up, and I kind of have given them first dibs on me, and there's other companies I was looking at. I really wasn't sure when I would be back. So after that, I just really wanted to go home. I knew I had to drive back. After the adrenaline wore off, I just kept stretching, and taking off my gear was another. Whew, it took longer to put on everything than the actual match. It seemed like it took longer to take everything off than it did to put everything on. But I knew I was going to have a wait because I didn't know how long of a wait. Usually the out-of-towners will get paid first, as fast as humanly possible. And there was an issue even between the booker and the promoter, as far as the promoter wanted certain things to go a certain way and the booker wanted certain things to go a certain way, and then they had some issues and could have become something where the show didn't even happen. But that was all before the match. And then we waited, and there were a couple guys who had to actually leave early. They got put on early on the show just so they had to be at work, that night. And yet we waited. I mean, the show ended probably about 9:30. By 11:15, I think we were still waiting to get paid. And it's funny because the promoter / money guy actually left to drop off chairs. He didn't trust anybody else with the money, which, hey man, whatever, it's your money, but it's he didn't have anything prepared, and it boggles my mind, companies that do that. I'm okay with waiting a little bit. That's standard operating procedure. I'm okay with that. I expect a little bit of a wait. I understand that they've got to count money and whatnot. But usually I can get my money pretty fast. I can't stand companies that don't pay you pretty quickly or make you wait so long because of whatever reason, and it dumbfounds me to a degree. But that wasn't the clincher. I'm already feeling bad. I'm already man, I'm just ready to go, and I'm tired and hurting and not sure of how my back is, and I called my massage therapist, and I'm what can I do? And she gave me some ideas, and we scheduled an appointment for that when I got home, that Sunday, and she was like, you could do this, this, and this, just try to stretch, take it easy, don't do anything too rowdy. And I'm waiting to get paid and whatnot, and then I get told that they ask who owns a specific model of car and specific color, and I'm like, what? And I figured, something they're playing a practical joke or something like that. Well, I get outside, and I walk to my car, and I see, a hole in my front bumper. And apparently, someone had drove their truck, had backed up their truck, and when they backed up their truck, even though my car was there, and you plainly see it, they backed into it, and the ball hitch went through the bumper on the left side of on the right side of the license plate. I took everything in my power to not lose my cool, and then I really wanted to strangle the guy when I found out it was the promoter who had actually backed into my car. And I'm like, what? Man, seriously? And then, he was like, well, I'll call you, tomorrow or the next day, and you know I'll get my insurance on this, whatnot. I mean, it's Thursday when I'm taping this, and I still have yet to hear from him. And on top of that, normally he would give us gas money. You know, he'd add a little something to your, you know, for travel. And he didn't do that either. And like every show that I've been to, he's done that. And it's not like I came to expect it, but at the same time, you come to kind of anticipate that that money's going to be there. And at times, that could be the difference between, mind you, you know, you get your meal comped and whatnot. And I don't mind the talent. I like a lot of the talent that's there, and you know, they have some quality guys there. But with everything that went down, and it has nothing to do with the booker, because I have no problem with the booker. I don't have any problem with what he put me in, because I know that, you know, I'm not too egomaniacal to know that everything's got a purpose, everything's got a point. As long as it's got a purpose and a point, I'm cool with it. I have no issue with the talent. Like I said, I'll work anybody in that company, but I don't think I can work for that promoter. Which is sad, because I like Seguin. Again, there's things, you know, and it's close to Austin and it's close to San Antonio, and it's not that, you know, it's a drive, but not that far of a drive. But man, you know, I felt slightly disrespected. Then I got a lecture about carpooling with guys and carpooling with more guys, and it's like, buddy, you know, you act like I just started doing this. I know all about carpooling and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't know what it would take for me to go back, but I don't think I'll be going back anytime soon. So, sorry, TWF fans. Don't blame the booker. Don't blame the talent. Don't blame yourselves. Definitely don't blame Shrimp Barn. In fact, you should go to Shrimp Barn because they have some great food. But blame the promoter, because he's the money guy. And don't blame him because he puts John Cena or Triple H or Undertaker on his flyer, or if he puts Stone Cold next month, or if he puts The Rock next month, or if he hypes up Rock versus Cena in a cardboard cutout match. Don't do that. Don't blame him for that. Blame him for the fact that, you know, he just doesn't know how to treat people. And I'm at the point in my career where, you know, above the pay, you know, pay, who I'm working, what you've got me involved with, how much input I've got, and respect. I mean, it's, you know, all these things. And if I don't feel like I'm being treated properly, I don't want to be there. Because I don't need to be there. You can give it to somebody else. You can give that spot to somebody else. So, yeah, that was my Saturday. And I mean, it really, everybody was like, man, you're very calm. And I was calm. I had to be calm because again, I didn't want to be knee jerky. I didn't want to come on here and just immediately come on here and say something. But, yeah. So yeah, that was my Saturday. Now, so let's get away from the negativity. Let's talk a little bit about stuff that's going on. Non-wrestling related stuff. I'm still reading Exodus from Leon Uris, part of my Leon Uris from my Mad Men summer reading list. I'm still on season 1 or that list of books. I read stuff here and there. One of my roommates works at a comic book store, so I get, you know, I get to hear about a lot of stuff, and I read a lot of comics. No, but nothing so far that's really capturing my brain. I did see Chronicle this past weekend on Friday to go see it, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed that movie. I don't have really any negative comments. I mean, there was maybe one thing when they first start flying. You know, I could kind of make out the wires, but that was so trivial in comparison to the overall movie. The movie was good. I liked how they came up with stuff and kind of that comic book, you know, the hero villain kind of that story arc, and how guys can evolve, and you know, the stuff with the camera really worked really well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that flick. I liked a lot of the special effects, the way they got things across. Let me see what else. Impact, I'll see this week. I saw most of the London one, and the thing is that I did see the the Haskins shooting star, and I thought that was a pretty great miss. I mean, some people, oh, he botched it. Well, who knows if that's how he was meant to, you know, maybe he fell that way. I mean, it worked for the finish. But aside from that, I'm trying to think if I really saw anything that stuck out now. WWE, I don't necessarily want to see Taker Triple H. I'll watch it because it's going to be part of WrestleMania, and that's great. And I'm interested to see how they get there, because Hunter's now saying, man, you're just not worth my time unless I destroy you. And Taker's demanding another match. Well, Taker, you beat the guy. You beat the guy. Like, I would have been better with no one wanting to face Taker. Nobody wanted to face him because he's undefeated at WrestleMania. And him having to demand, like, and adding a stipulation like, well, I'll put my career on the line, or you know, it's not just a streak, even though the streak's a pretty big deal. But whatever. The stuff with Punk and Jericho, I'm okay with it. I think what people, you know, and I have to realize, a lot of people have to realize, is that was kind of like their first face-to-face. And if they're going to face each other at WrestleMania, you're going to have weeks of build-up, hopefully. You know, 55 days, you know, last count. I didn't mind the first initial, like, face-to-face and Punk kind of taking a page from Jericho. And Jericho's promo, you know, where he said everyone was a copycat, and then he pretty much went into how they copied him, I thought was okay. I don't think I'll be getting Elimination Chamber. If somebody else gets it, I'll probably watch it. I know the Raw before, and I meant to talk about it, was really jam-packed with some great stuff, you know, with Ziggler and Orton, and, you know, even Kofi and Miz was pretty solid. And Bryan and Punk, and that was like one of those matches that I thought, man, that would be a great WrestleMania match, you know, those two. And who knows if they could do a triple threat with him. Best in the world. And like Nigel McGuinness shows up just to show up. Congrats to Chris Hero for getting signed, finally. And I'm sorry to hear Miz. You know, the whole thing with Miz, R-Truth doing the somersault senton to the outside and not getting caught by Miz, and then Miz getting reprimanded. You know, it's a situation, but at the same time, you should try to catch the guy or be there. I mean, it's kind of it is what it is. I mean, guys make mistakes. Guys aren't in position. It happens. It happens all over the place. It shouldn't happen in a place like WWE. I mean, they should have that nipped in the bud, but it is what it is. Yeah, that's about it as far as that stuff goes. Let's see. Well, this weekend, like I said when I opened this video, this weekend I'm hoping will be better than last. I feel better. You know, got my treatment and been stretching a lot and really kind of watching how I lift and what I lift and my form and all that. So I mean, it actually was probably going to help me out in the long run. But this Saturday, I am venturing to Galveston, Texas. TASW is presenting the Galveston Rumble, and it'll be the first time in 14 years. You know, the first time back in 14 years. And on top of the Galveston Rumble being the main, which I hope to win, I also have a chance at gold. I'm taking on the tag team champions, which are Ruthless Ryan Davidson, an old friend of mine, old tag team partner of mine, a guy that, you know, an old running buddy of mine, and his tag team partner, Rockstar Robbie, who I have some issue with, or have had some issue with. They are the tag team champions at TASW. They're going to face me and my tag team partner, the TASW heavyweight champion, Mysterious Q. Now, I have said that my goal when returning to TASW, as well as my goal across any wrestling company that I work for, is to win gold. And that means that Mysterious Q is in my crosshairs. And the question's been asked, well, can he and I coexist and be a team when I want to face him? Well, I have to earn the right to face him. That hopefully will happen here pretty soon. I think in El Campo on March 3rd, I've got a match with Rockstar Robbie to see who's going to face him, face Mysterious Q at the Humble Rumble on March 31st. So, you know, one thing at a time. Me and Q have a chance. Tag team gold at TASW's eluded me, and it'd be great to be tag team champion. So I'll do everything it takes to win tag team gold against the tag team champions. And then what better to have two tag team, you know, the partners have to face each other. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. This Saturday, February 11th, Knights of Columbus Arena in Galveston, Texas, you're going to see yours truly giving everyone a reason to DeMark out, proving once again that there is no show without Steve DeMarco, and hopefully will not only win the Galveston Rumble, but become the new TASW, or one half of the new TASW Tag Team Champions, along with my tag team partner. So if you're in the Galveston area, feel free to come by and check it out and party it up. I mean, I think bell time's 7 o'clock, and who knows, maybe we'll drink and party it up, especially if we win. Other than that, I appreciate everybody. I know this was long, but hey, I had a little story time, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, feel free to send them to me. I appreciate anybody. I've had some guys send me videos asking me what I think of their stuff. So there you go, and hopefully that keeps going. Next week, on the 18th, 17th, I don't really have anything going on as far as wrestling related, so I'm probably going to take a nice little break. But I'll talk about some other stuff that's on my mind and hype up, because the 24th and 25th, 24th I'll be in Elton, Louisiana, making not only my Louisiana debut, but I will also, that'll be the first time of 2012 that I'll be doing shows back to back. I'll have Elton, Louisiana, I think for Takedown Entertainment on the 24th, and then on the 25th I'll be probably defending my Gulf Coast Power Pro Wrestling Heavyweight title as we venture to the McDonald Gym in Beaumont, Texas. So with that, I hope everyone enjoys this video, and I appreciate everybody's support. And as always, like I always like to end this, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. If you're at Galveston and you're celebrating Mardi Gras with me, or you are feverishly doing the DeMark out, or you're just a big fan and just like hanging out, I appreciate everything. I hope you come back and visit. And you know what? If you do, you're all of those. Later.